Welcome. In this one I'm going to show you how to find the square root of I, where I is the imaginary unit. So let's go through that process. The first stage is this one. I'm just going to rewrite this as I raised to the 1/2 because that is the definition. But then after that, I'm going to rewrite this again as follows. 0 plus I times 1, the whole thing raised to the 1/2, because 0 plus I times 1 is just I in the first place anyway. The only difference is this shows something that's useful. Like, for example, that 0 that you see above my head, that's just x essentially, and then that value is y. So you have a complex number. Now let's take a look at the unit circle here. So in the unit circle, when you look through the unit circle, there's a lot happening, but something stands out. Like this point above my head has an x coordinate basically of 0 and a y coordinate of 1, and that corresponds to this angle that is pi over 2, as you can see. How can you make use of that? Remember that the x-coordinate is the cosine of pi over 2, and the y-coordinate is the sine of pi over 2. So for that reason, I can rewrite this across the top here as follows. Instead of writing 0 in that position, I can write cosine of pi over 2 because that is 0. Instead of writing 1 in that position, I can write sine of pi over 2, and keep that 1/2 in the exponent still, unchanged. Let's continue. So at the next stage, what I can do is take this expression cosine of pi over 2 plus I sine pi over 2, and I can simply rewrite it in exponential form. So it becomes e raised to the I times pi over 2. And that 1/2 above me, remember that's the original exponent from up there, the 1/2, you see? So that 1/2 multiplying the pi over 2 is kept exactly in that form, doesn't change. But now you can multiply pi over 2 by 1 over 2, which is going to give you the following. Now e raised to the 1/2 times a pi over 4. But now I can take this back down to the cosine plus sine form of a complex number. So it's going to look like the following. Take a look. Cosine of pi over 4 plus I sine pi over 4. Now each of these is well known. So cosine of pi over 4, remember pi over 4 is the same as 45 degrees. It's the cosine. So the cosine would be the square root of 2 over 2 right there above my head. Also with the sine, that's the same, right? So like the sine of pi over 4, that's the y-coordinate at pi over 4. So at pi over 4, the y-coordinate has the value root of 2 over 2. So that means over here, I would just put everything down in its final form as follows. The square root of 2 over 2, that corresponds to the cosine of pi over 4. Again, in a unit circle, it's the x-coordinate at the red point. And same thing where it's the sine of pi over 4, that becomes the root of 2 over 2. Again, in a unit circle, it's the y-coordinate at the red point. So the final answer is what you see kind of next to me, right here. The root of 2 over 2 plus the root of 2 over 2 times I. And this represents the square root of I. I hope it's been helpful and insightful. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video.